Hey guys. Oof. I'm just gonna, let a couple people come in if you so desire. No pressure at all. But just adding a couple things. I haven't used StreamYard in a long time, so I was like, wait a second. Wait a minute. Wait a minute now. Just letting a couple people, if they want to come in, come in. And clean off my screen over here. Yes, that's much better. Whew, hitting that go live button is hard. Hmm. Wait. Sure, it's definitely in there. Hmm. Well, I'm not going to delay it because I said I was going to do a story time, and this is going to be a story time about my life and trauma that I had to endure. Um, and first and foremost, this is not about bashing anybody. It's not to defame or discredit anyone. It's just a piece of my life that I feel is necessary to share in order for me to really move forward. And I feel as a business owner and as a human being, sometimes being transparent about the things you've gone through is important, not only for others who can relate with you, but for yourself so that you can free yourself from things that have happened to you. Um, so again, has nothing to do with insulting anyone, defaming anyone. Not to say that I'm innocent in everything that I've done in my life because I'm not, but it's my perspective and I'm just sharing that. So I actually came up with a quote, and the quote is genuine people do end up last. And I say that because, well, let me finish the quote. Genuine people end up last, but the test is, will it change your heart? So it's not something to say that it's a bad thing to be genuine. It's not something to say that it's a good thing to be genuine. It's just something that is a reality. And as long as you don't allow your situations in life to change who you are and who you were purposed to be, then that's what is important. So anyway, I've never done a story time before. Yeah, about surface things, but nothing about anything too deep. But I really do want you guys to get to know me because honestly, I've known some people for like 10 plus years and they have no idea of who I am, except for, oh, that's Joy. She's nice. She's always, pleasant. Well, most of the time, it's always pleasant, always giving, sharing, all that other stuff. But you don't know what made Joy. So, back in 2023, well, ultimately, when you become a full time business person or businesswoman, is I got fired from a job. a job that I had been at for many years. And from the beginning, from the very beginning, I can't even say like the first week of being there, I was treated so badly by my coworkers. And they didn't know, but I was such a shy person. It was hard for me to even talk to people or even, say anything because, again, no one knew my past. So in my previous jobs, it was the same situation, same scenario. It's like, yeah, that's just Joy. She's a nice person. And you could just do whatever. Because my previous jobs, what ultimately led me to being where I was, they took advantage of my time. And I was in hospitality. I always wanted to be in hospitality. But what made me not want to do it anymore is because that one year I had to work every single holiday. And at that point in time, I realized that with holidays, I want to be with family or at least with people who want to be around me. So, anyway, that's why I ended up in the job that I was at. Now, the job that I was at prior to being a full time business person, um, was a very prestigious place, and worldwide. Okay, so you would never ever assume that you would have to endure something so big and so great. But for me, what is the worst part, and I know people are like, oh, you can always go find another job, this, that, and the other. And trust me, I had no intentions on being at this place for long because I was always like, okay, at the time I was going to be in the music industry and everything was going to be fine. I was going to be a manager and I was going to manage artists and, we'd be on tour. So this was a stepping stone. But it turned out to be a long stepping stone. So from the very first week of being there, it was horrible. Now, not to say that every single situation was bad, because it wasn't, because there were, good times and bad times, but the majority of the times were worse than anything good. Mind you, I was always there. I was there for all of my coworkers. I was there for the employer. I did everything that every, employer would want out of an employee. Always on time, never complaining, never doing any of that stuff. Right. So I'm just like, whatever. I'm gonna be here eventually anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But I tell you, there were two, and it always seems to be the case, always two individuals who always try to discredit my character, make everybody else not like me, and also just make my life a living hell. And I don't believe they wanted to do that for any other reason outside of just wishing that I would fold in and be like everyone else and gossip and, tell people's business, tell my business and all that other stuff. But I was never that one because I had a history of knowing what it was like to be an employee or a coworker amongst wolves. So I never ever really shared much. But without the sharing part, I was always shy. And it was just like, it's not that didn't want to talk to anybody, but it was just shy. And I'll never forget one of my coworkers, it was getting so out of hand one year. I gave her a card, and in that card, I basically just told her, hey, X, Y, and Z, but like I really feel like you're treating me like less than a dog. I gave that card to her. And the hope was that, oh, maybe she'll just be like, oh my goodness, let me just, ease up and be a little bit more nice. Let me just give her a chance to, show who she really is. But no, that didn't happen. The treatment got worse. It got so bad that I'll never forget, but I know she was referencing dogs because then she started growling sometimes around me, especially after I gave her the card. So I said, okay. And me being the Christian person that I was at the time, in the Bible, they say turn the next cheek. So I was trying to be a good Christian and just endure. And enduring, I ended up having a harder time. Now, I had been in this job for over 10 years. Imagine waking up and going to a place where you work amongst 10 people and about 5 of them hate your guts. Not only hate your guts, but just want to prove that you are a horrible person. But then that you're not a horrible person, but you are a horrible person. And the crazy thing is that we always had clients coming in and out. And all of the clients that came in always had something good to say. They always gave me gifts. They always said nice things to me. And they always gravitated toward me for whatever reason. So imagine the psychological warfare that was going on in my head. In one case, you have a people who are perfect strangers that see who you are right from the bat. Then in another case, you have people that have seen you for over a couple of span of years. Clearly, they must know you. And what they think about you is probably more true than what a perfect stranger is saying about you. So that's something that I had to deal with. And it's something that I carried with for the majority of my life. Even though I know they're lies, there's got to be some type of truth. Because I'm like, okay, people can't always be lying. There must be something that I'm doing wrong. Let me see if I can do better. And I always wanted to try to do better. So I'll never forget also too, in the times that I was at this job, when a birthday of mine would come up, and this is why I kind of feel like I don't like celebrating birthdays or my birthday, because when my birthday came around, this was my chance to take my power back and not allow them to celebrate. So, hence why Be the Difference donates to charity. Because I said, I don't want a cake. I told my manager, I don't want a cake because I don't want to celebrate my birthday with the people that hate my guts, who have nothing good to say about me any other day of the week. I do not want to celebrate my birthday with them. They're like, oh no, it's just a cake. No, there's certain things that are sacred to me, and celebrating my life, even if it's just a superficial cake with people that are singing happy birthday that I know that don't care for me at all, don't wish me well at all. Why would I want to get a cake and surround myself around a table of wolves? I don't. So I said to her, please, I begged her, I said, please, just donate it to charity. And this is how I ended up donating to Hayden's Heart. So Be the Difference donates to Hayden's Heart because of that experience. So even in the midst of going through what I had to endure for so long, I ended up doing something good. So fast forward a couple of other times. I'll never forget this too. One of the girls, the same one that I gave the card to, she purposely had a party at her house, invited the entire office. And I didn't really care because I was like, I wouldn't want to go. But I knew the motive behind it is what hurt the most. You wanted to make sure I felt as excluded as possible. And that's what really hurt the most. It's like, okay, I already know you hate my guts. I already know you wish I was never here. But to throw it on top, you invite everybody to a party, including the owner, to a party that they all went to. And I just sat there and waited till you guys came back on Monday talking about how much fun you had. Now, like I said, I didn't care about going to the party, but it was just the motive of why I know you did what you did. And the smirks and all of those psychological things people do to you to make sure they show and prove that you are not liked, nor do they want you around. But let's remember, majority of the clients that came into that building and that prestigious job that I had always liked me. So that was one experience that I had. And in the midst of even feeling that and going through that, I still was trying my best to be a good person. I went ahead and on many occasions for Mother's Day, for my birthday, just for any occasion, right? I would buy carnations or flowers and I would give them to not only the clients, whoever showed up that day, but if there was anything left over, I would give it to my coworkers too. And I already understood, trust and believe, I understood that nobody really liked me or they liked hate me for the most part. And I had to endure this for many years. And the reason why I stayed so long is because I thought I would be gone so quick, either be in the music industry, doing my big one as a manager, touring the world, and then eventually just having a business that was successful enough that I ended up not needing to be there and quit. But it was fast forward to, eventually the bullies went away because I was bullied a lot. I was bullied a lot. I was treated like garbage for the most part. And it's not like I allowed them to get away with it. It's just, some people say things, do things, and just make sure that you feel a certain way. After a while, I became so numb to it. It was just like, whatever, it is what it is. I'm going to be out of here eventually anyway. 1 year turned into 10 years, and how quickly time flies by. And I never ever did celebrate a birthday with them. So when I am in my waking life, I find it hard to even want to celebrate my birthday because of the trauma that I had to endure just with that situation alone. So, anyway, as the years had gone by, employees had come and gone. And even with the new hires, they somehow convinced the new hires that I was some type of evil person, even though they may not have realized it or have realized that that's not necessarily true, but they jumped on the bandwagon. Oh, and here's the clincher too. Speaking in their native language around me. When I couldn't translate, but I knew they were talking about me. Imagine how you may feel or how a person may feel when you know good well you're talking about me right in front of my face, but I can't translate it to identify what exactly you're saying. But I had to endure that. I chose to endure that. Because some of you will probably say, well, you chose to live that way. But trust me, there are millions of other people who have to and are enduring situations that I had to go through. So I don't think that I'm the only person in the world, but maybe I'm one of the only people in the world that will actually share it. Others may end up taking people out violently, and others may not. But here's where everything pretty much spiraled out to the day that I got fired. It was to the point where I was just sick and tired of just doing whatever I had to do in order to make it through a day. Like I said, every day wasn't horrible, but majority of it was. So I eventually, and I never complained about people, nothing like that. I eventually couldn't take it anymore. Now, mind you, the manager hired the best friend to work at the job. And at the time, the manager was like, please don't tell the owner because, they probably won't get hired. And I was like, do you promise that you're not going to allow your friendship to get in the way with you being a manager? She said no. So I was like, all right. And I'm not one that's going to try to stop people from working and getting money. You know what I'm saying? So I said, all right, fine. Well, that same person who I knew, we had ups and downs and battles here and there. When I went to the owner and finally said, I can't really take this anymore. These two are basically gang banging me and beating me down a lot. And he said to me, she's had the same argument about you for several years, had for several occasions. I was like, what? I was shocked because I never knew that on several different occasions, this person was trying to get me fired. Once I found that out, I said, oh, absolutely not. I had no more respect for them. And I already had told them a long time ago, I will never have respect for somebody that tries to make someone get fired, taking food from their mouths, or anything of that nature. I would never, ever have respect for them. And I would never, ever talk to them if anybody tried to do that to me. And I should have known that was a clue when she was just like that. And I was like, why would she do that? But it didn't matter because I knew that she had just gone to the office to try to get another girl fired. And I was just like, don't do that to her. Like, yeah, she's a horrible person, but don't do that to her. And when I tell you, if I tell you that somebody's no good, it's for a reason and it's the truth. I don't know how, it's just probably a gift that I have received, but I know people. Doesn't take long or much for me to know people. So I should have known that if she was willing to try to get somebody else fired, why would I be exempt? But when I realized that was the case, I was like, oh, hell no. The whole I'm not talking to you was in full effect. Because how could you do that? Now, mind you, the same person that tried to get me fired over the course of the years, she had a sick child in the hospital, no time on her hands or anything like that. And I had accumulated so much time, so many hours, y'all, so many hours. When they fired me, they had to pay me a lot. They had to pay me a lot because I had so much acquired time. I told my manager, I said, hey, can you give my hours to this person because they haven't been able to go to work. Their kid, the kid was in at the time. And, you know, I want to give them that time. My manager looked at me and was like, no, I'm allowing you to give your time to anybody. I was like, but I'm telling you, I would like for that to happen because she needs there's not enough days in the years for her to be able to afford to take off all of these days to take care of a sick child and miss all of this work and actually still have other children to attend to and a husband and all this other stuff like that. She said no. I never ever told that person that I was trying my best to help them out. And I'm pretty sure the manager probably told her because they're best friends, right? Mind you, throughout this time, I did try to ask my manager, like, hey, don't you think there's some unfairness going on? But nobody, nobody came to help me. No one came to rescue me. No one came to to even try to assist and see like how can we make this a little better for Joy? Not one person, not the owner, not the manager. It was just always, you got to deal with it. So you endure for years and years and years and years. And then when I look at how my life has turned out, I see why it's hard for me to believe anything that anybody says. I see why it's hard for me to trust that people will have my back. I see how I could understand why people would be nice to me in my face and phony to my back. I see why people could tolerate me, but never ever want to understand or listen to me. I could see those things just based off of what I had to experience. I could see people, pretending to like me, pretending to think that I'm such a cool person, but deep down inside, I know they can't stand me. I could see all those things because I already had to live it. I could see why people don't trust. I could see all these things because I had to endure it. Again, it wasn't a big company. It was a total of 9 of us that worked together. And of the 9, I had to endure 5 total. But I never could understand, and I don't think I ever will, how you could actually say that you care about a person, but completely ignore them. How you say you respect a person, but you just completely ignore them. How you say you always want things to be resolved, but when people come to you for resolution, you completely ignore them. I had to endure this for many years. Maybe a more patient person because oh yeah, I need to decline that. I don't know, but I do know that one of the reasons why I probably stayed so long, deep down inside, I probably wanted to prove that I was worthy to be there, to prove that I was a good person. Again, I didn't care about hanging out with anybody, but I just wanted to be respected. But I think they feared me more than they respected me. For some reason, anytime I said something, it was like, okay, let's follow what she says. That was important. But as me as a person outside of this structure of making business decisions for a company that's making millions of dollars a year, and I helped do that, still couldn't get their respect. But anyway, let's fast forward to 2023. At this point, I had had it. It was done. I was over it. I already knew that the coworker that I, was sitting closest to not only hated my guts, but wanted to see me on many occasions starve to death. I knew she was a jealous person. I knew she probably felt threatened by me, but I always shrunk myself so that she didn't feel, or that I tried to shrink myself so that she didn't feel so unworthy. Again, people will always do things And I don't know if that was like God doing it to show her out or to show them out, but people will always publicly give me things. And I'll never forget one person gave me one of these third eye, one of those bracelets, the evil eye bracelet. And a couple days or weeks before they fired me, that bracelet broke. And it wasn't even like I did anything. I was just wearing it and it just broke. So I was like, uh-oh, what's going on now? They were all conspiring against me. Even one person that we were cool, all conspiring against me. Gathering up information. Any little thing that I did, they complained about. Any little phone call that they heard that they didn't like the tone of my voice, they complained about. They even set me up for something that I didn't even do. But I sat there and endured. But before all of this even happened, same year, 2023, I had purchased a DTF machine, a commercial DTF machine. And I was like, well, I don't really need it because I don't use it I won't be able to use it that often. I have a full-time job and whatever. But you'll get set up and lined up for what's going to be worth your while in the future. I bought this DTF machine. So when I wasn't working, I went ahead and printed. When I wasn't working, I was still trying my best to make be the difference of full time, but on my terms. I prayed, I meditated, all of those things that you can imagine a person would do in order to in order to live a day, 12-hour day amongst people that they know hate their guts, but not really hate your guts, but they hate your guts, but don't hate your guts. They used to text each other, again, it was a small office, so the owner used to text all of us, and this time I didn't respond anymore. I didn't want to be fake or phony. I just stopped. They said happy Thanksgiving. I said nothing because I didn't feel like there was a true Thanksgiving. I didn't feel like there was a true family like they always said, and that's why I'm just like it's jaded now, like what family really is. Because if that was what family was supposed to be like, what I had to endure, I don't want any parts of that. If family means I only am your family on conditions, I don't want that. That's not family to me. Family is not going to do anything. And again, I know this is a work environment. I understand there's always going to be a lot of fakeness to it. But when you're working with only about 10 people and you are seeing these people every day, you're trying to build a business and not try to tell nobody about it because you know you really can't do that. But then eventually they find out because after time, over time, people find out your social media handles and then they see things. Even my former job used me to print some stuff. I was glad for the opportunity. That's why I say it wasn't all bad. But if I had to give it a scale of 1 to 10, the way I felt was probably like a 4 for over 10 years. So anyway, the day finally comes. It was a Friday. And I'm at work. Again, always perfect attendance, always opening, making sure people are taken care of, making sure people feel welcomed, making sure everything is taken care of, making sure everything is fully stocked in the office, making sure everything is taken care of. So if you know my work ethic and you've seen my lives where you've seen me printing, imagine how I would be if I was your employee. And not only that, I'm helping you to make millions of dollars over the course of many years, millions of dollars. And of course, the owner never cared about you. And I understand that. Owners and employers, they don't care about you. I know this. But you still go through the psychological thing where people tell you one thing and do another. So yeah, I got fired. And Be the Difference became my full time. I never told anybody. And mind you, not only did they fire me, but a couple months prior, I bought my first house. So now I have no longer the same income to maintain a house that I just purchased. See, I know what it feels like to not be wanted. And when I say wanted, I just know when people don't want you around. I know what it feels like. So, how I ended up acquiring my house is because they no longer wanted me at the place that I was living at. Well, it's not that they didn't want me, it's just they wanted to raise the rent. And I was like, oh, hell no, I might as well own a house. So, anyhow, they pushed me out of there. And I ended up buying my first house or my second house because I bought a house years ago, but it was an investment property. So now, fast forward, none of them knew. I could never and I would never share any of my personal life with them, but I bought a house. And then a couple months later, I ended up being unemployed with a business that was sustaining itself, but now it had to help sustain the owner too. It's so funny for you who have never been fired before to be put in a room with people, an owner, your manager, the co-owner, that sit across you stone face and tell you things that you never did, telling me that I was insubordinate, telling me that people complained about me. But how is that possible when other people just gifted me? The phone calls that I had to take to help people off the ledge, to comfort people, all of these things that I did, some in the light and mostly in the dark, but they knew it was me. Did you just forget that I tried to make your company look good? I just gave everybody for Mother's Day flowers out of my own pocket. And it wasn't because I wanted to look good or anything of that nature. It's just, it was on my heart to do. So I did it. The shock and awe and the surprise of everybody, that's what made me feel good. It's like, oh, I just made somebody's day. Again, I'm not trying to bash anybody because they did what they felt they needed to do. To somebody that they knew wasn't a bad person, that they knew would be missed, at least by the clients. So after they sat stone cold and across from me, telling me all the things that I wasn't, they gave me a little box. I had to pack up my stuff I left all of the years of things that my coworkers gave me, and I only took what I felt was really mine: a charger, my Bible, and I think I left money there too. And I'm still mad about that to this day, but I think I might have left money there. Took my little box and I left. And the manager, she was like, you could tell she was feeling some kind of way, but you wanted this. You wanted out. You let your best friend, a new hire, another employee to gang up on me to get rid of me. It took 5 people to complain enough to get rid of me. Imagine the psychological warfare that a person would have when all you did was try to be the best version of yourself and live by the principles that you tell people on a daily basis, and things and items that you sell all the time, have books that you've written that they all were a part of at one point in time. Meaning, like, I let them to have a little say so and how the cover may look, or just reading some things and stuff like that. And of course, like I said, over the years, people find out stuff no matter how much you want to hide. They still find stuff. So it's not like I could hide it any longer that I had a business and that I was doing all of this. I couldn't hide it anymore because, again, there's only 6 of us, or 9 of us total, but the most that I actually saw on a daily basis were 2, and that was the manager and her best friend, who would just do things to make sure they gang up on me, right? I say all of this to say that when you meet people, everybody has a story. Everybody has been through some type of trauma, but some of us will not allow our traumas to define who we are and what we can be and what we're capable of doing, and how we are capable of not allowing or even making it look or have the appearance of what we went through. 10 plus years of enduring, knowing that no one likes you, or pretend to like you some days and not. Imagine living that way for all of those years and still trying your best to get out of their way by becoming successful enough so you can get out of their way. So I found out that after they had gotten rid of me, it was such a huge impact on the office. They had to have a meeting about me, that I would no longer be there, that they need help with, opening the office and making sure things are taken care of. Imagine that. I was so much trouble that you had to have everybody chip in to help make the office run just as efficient as the one person that you felt you needed to get rid of. Before all of that happened, I did open my mouth and I said something to the owner. I said, hey, these 2 best friends are doing X, Y, and Z. And I said, listen, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, but I need to vent because there's no one else that I could turn to. He ended up making them move. And that was not my intention. I just needed to get it off. Like, you guys see what's going on, but nobody is doing anything about it. There comes a point in time where it's like, okay, Care enough for your employees that you'll help them, not just get rid of them. So you want to know what that taught me? Again, don't complain. Don't even voice your opinion. Because if you do, you're going to have hell to pay. And the people that may have been someone that you were voicing your opinion about will end up eating your guts no more. So it's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And then unfortunately, that spills over into a daily life. It's easier said than done to never stay someplace where you're not wanted and you don't have to prove yourself. It's easier said than done, but us as human beings, we just want to be cared for or at least respected. At least respect me. I don't care if you like me or not, but please just respect me. Don't try to make me homeless and don't try to make me not be able to have a meal in my mouth. And that's what they did to me. They tried to make me homeless and they tried to make me not have food in my mouth. But in the midst of that, I had what? A house. I still live in the house that I purchased. I'm still able to pay my mortgage. All while getting fired, dealing with that trauma, I never had told anybody about. If anyone ever knew, I would just be like, if you knew me, all you would know is like, oh yeah, I have my own business. You never knew the history behind it. But I'm telling you today, because my birthday is coming up next week. And I felt this is the perfect time to cut those cords of feeling, of having the idea of that, or the feeling deep down rooted in me that I'm not worthy and that people don't like me, even if they say they do, or even if they pretend to. Don't believe that. Because, yeah, there are people who probably do like you, or probably do care about you, and probably want to see you do well. That's not a reality. And do you know how many people may be sitting with that thought as a reality that people don't care and that people want to see you die pretty much? I never cared for that one coworker who was the spearhead behind me. I never really cared for her. But yet I was the same one willing to give my time to her. Same one on many occasions helping her when she was in need. Same one, the same person ultimately was the same person, the same person that I had done so much for. And I will do it again. It doesn't matter because at the time it was necessary and needed for them. Right? I'm not a bad person. And if somebody is in need, I want to help because that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. And that's what I preach every day. Be the difference. But I would never, ever in my life, no matter how much that person showed their ugly, jealous head, no matter how much they did things to prove that they were be spiteful, what manipulative, whatever the case may be. I would never, ever in my life try to get anybody fired. It's just not right, and it's just not right. Well, the grapevine already told me that none of them lasted a year after they got rid of me. The best friends were no longer best friends. None of them worked there anymore. And to think I was the problem, but I was the glue that was holding everything together. But yet, you hated me and wanted to see me starve to death, not knowing that I had just purchased a home and that that income was taking care of a new mortgage that I had. So when I tell you that God, your maker, creator, or whoever you believe in, will always provide your needs. I'm speaking from I'm speaking from a perspective of what I had to endure in the same year. You buy a home, you lose a job. But you buy a home first, you buy a commercial DTF machine. You buy a home, you lose a job. Now you gotta hustle to make sure you never have to step foot in another person's office to endure even an ounce of what I had to endure, because I do not and I will not ever work in an environment, in an office, in set up environment ever in my life. I never want to do that again. It's just too much. It's not for me. And as long as God, my maker, creator, and all my ancestors, my entire team keeps me from having to step foot in another environment like that, I will never do it again. That's the trauma that I've been left with. To endure sitting amongst wolves, I can't do that anymore. I don't have that much strength. I gave all of my strength to what I had to endure for all of those years, and now I refuse to do it ever again. So that's the only thing I ask God. Please don't ever have to have. Please don't ever let me have to go through that again. Please, 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 please. But the walls have been broken down now. I've identified my trauma. I've shared it with the world. And I'm no longer going to allow those thoughts to determine the outcome of any of my situations, relationships with other human beings. Because it has created a void. Regardless of what people think, it has created a void. But I'm letting that roll down slowly and surely. But when you see people coming, know that everybody has had a situation, and that we all just are trying to survive, and we all just want the one thing that this life has to offer, which is respect for life and relationships, genuine relationships, not fake relationships, not fake friendships, not fake, oh well, that's it. That's it. You're only going to be in this category and that's that. Nobody wants that. Nobody in their right mind wants that. Nobody, even the people who say it, don't want it. Don't become part of the problems. Become part of a solution. We all are solution driven people if we allow ourselves to be. We can be. That's why I go so hard for humanity, because I don't want anybody to feel an ounce of what I had to go through, not with other human beings. I don't want people to feel alone, because that's how I felt. I felt so alone. I felt like nobody was there to help me. Nobody wanted to help me. Nobody wanted to understand me. Nobody wanted to understand the frustrations that I had to deal with every single day when I walked into an office and knew that you guys hated my guts. Nobody wanted to understand that. All you cared about was I must be a threat somehow because I didn't want to fold in and become who you are. Telling all my business, gossiping about other people. So we just get rid of her. But I guess I should feel a little happy knowing that it had to take 5 people, the majority of the office, to get rid of me, to find a way to get rid of me right before the holidays. So one, I couldn't celebrate another holiday party, couldn't get a bonus, nothing like that. Y'all wanted to make sure you hated me that much. You wanted to make sure I didn't get anything. It's deep. But I'm thankful that it turned me into the businesswoman that I am right now. I took the skills that I learned and I was able to add it to the business that I have right now that I'm running. I guarantee you, if I ever were to employ anybody, there would be no, it wouldn't be like the way that I have to do it. If people have an issue or a problem, there's not going to be any favoritism going on, nothing like that. It would never be that way. If I had to hire people, because I would never want anybody to endure or feel what I had to feel for so long. And I would never let people get away with treating one person that way. And they all saw it. It's not like it was a hidden thing because people wanted to make sure that they knew that they didn't like me. They wanted to make sure that everybody knew that they didn't like me. They wanted to make sure everybody that came into that place knew that they did not like me and to prove to them why they should not like me either. But I'm thankful that even though I was set up, I already had set myself up to be successful by acquiring the equipment that I needed to acquire, by establishing all the different things that I needed to establish in order to run a business, by always having excellent credit so that I still was able to help this business grow. And to this very day, Be the Difference is still here. Joy is still here, but she's only going to get better. I release this trauma that I had to endure, being fired, humiliated, publicly humiliated by people that couldn't find any reason but to make a few up. It was my time to go. When I think about it, it's spiritually, in a spiritual sense, it was my time. I had shed so many tears that when I did get fired, I couldn't shed another. They had already, the manager had already set up my unemployment. The manager had already contacted the state and told them my last day was the day before they fired me. I mean, naturally, because they wouldn't let me do the whole day. So it was already planned. What I was grateful for was that they fired me before any of the other employees who were part of the setup couldn't see me go. And I know that my ancestors, God, the whole entire team knew what I could handle. And that's one thing I couldn't, was to watch my enemies win. So I quietly left and I never looked back. My manager's mother, who follows me on social media from time to time, will still like my posts. So if I could have that great an impact on your family, how could you do that to me? That's the one thing I don't think I could ever settle with, or I will have a hard time settling with. Everybody around you knows the kind of person that I am, but yet and still, you went with everyone else to make sure that I had no food in my mouth and possibly no roof over my head. Yeah, you could go get another. How long would it take for somebody to get a job? It's not that easy, y'all. Y'all can say whatever you want. Oh, well, you just got fired. So what? Oh, well, you could just go get another job. So what? Let it be you and see what happens. Let you lose some type of income and see what happens. Let you go through psychological warfare like you had to, like I had to, see what happens. So let you tell people that you've never ever told before, who never ever knew what happened to you. Let me see how you would feel. How would you handle that? So I will probably not speak about this ever again. But I'm grateful for where I am right now. So when you see me going hard for people, understand where that's coming from. Understand what I know what it feels like to be alone, to feel alone, left out, misunderstood, tolerated, picked on, trying the being a person where you know people are trying to convince others that you're not a good person. I know all of these things because I had to endure it and I see it when it comes. So maybe, just maybe, depending on where you are in your life, whether you're an employee or an employer, don't let people just get away with anything just because you're trying to make sure you're making your quotas every year. Oh well, it doesn't matter to me because they feelings don't matter. Don't No, it does. It does matter. Because if you treat your employees good, you will get even better. I guess I just was too good. So they never felt it necessary to give more. And it doesn't matter how prestigious of a job you work at, it's still a job. Always, always have multiple streams of income because every one of us are in at will positions. if you work for an employee or employer, you are at will. So regardless of what you do, I think of all of the years that I worked there, I only called out one time because I was sick. That's how reliable I was. Snow days, anything, I was going to be there. It's not because I was trying to be better than him, but that's just who I am. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to work for someone, I'm going to work to the best of my ability. I'm not going to cheat nobody, regardless of whether I feel there's fairness or not. I'm going to keep to what I say. The standards that I create are the standards I'm going to live by. And maybe, just maybe, we need to also live by some type of standards and stick by it, regardless of. So if you're somebody who's going through a similar situation like me, you are absolutely not alone. And I tell you, I understand how you may feel when you absolutely do nothing wrong to create a reason for somebody to fire you, but allow their personal feelings to determine whether or not you get to stay somewhere. I understand. I can empathize with you. Maybe this is your sign to start your own business or continue the business that you have or pick back up your business or start thinking of other avenues of income. But this day and age, one income, one avenue of income is never going to be enough. How do I make it? You may wonder. God, my creator, maker, my ancestors, the entire team that watches over me and says, Joy, you are doing a good job. We are going to make sure, even if people hurt you, we're going to make sure that you still will have everything you need, regardless of. And eventually, we'll send you people who are actually going to care about you, who will want to understand you, who will not ignore you, who will not just think that you're somebody taking up space, who will see your value, who will help you grow, who will want to help you grow. One day that will happen. But in the meantime, I'm working on me so that if that ever does happen, if those doors actually open, I won't take it for granted and I won't allow what I had to endure to be a stumbling block as to what people, who true people really are. Because I guarantee you, I'm quick to let people go, throw them away at the first sign of me thinking that anybody's going to try to get me. I'm just like, okay, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. I'm good, no problem, no problem. That's not a healthy way of living. It's not realistic. And it's why none of you, up until this point, probably under knew who I truly was. But now you do. This was a major part of my life. And how I ended up getting here and why I ended up sharing is another reason why. Somebody had sent an email that I don't recall ever reaching out to be a part of. So it was supposed to be a pop-up shop. And the email, I don't really read stuff either. So the email basically said they had to cancel the event, but they were going to showcase businesses by helping you do an interview. So when I told the lady I wanted to be a part of this, she was like, "You need to tell us a traumatic story." And, there are a couple things that happened, but this is the one thing that I was willing to share. So I called her back, and when I told her about being fired, it took so much for me even to say the words, literally, I got fired. And it felt like it wasn't traumatic enough for her stories. So long story, she told me that the editor was busy until the summertime. And I said, oh, hell no. I done shared this, and I knew that I was extremely upset about it because as I was telling her the things that I had to endure, I started yelling at her about how much employers don't care about their employees. And that's when I knew that this was something that really hurt me bad and that I hadn't gotten over it. And even though she tried to silence me by telling me, I said, oh, hell no. Ain't nobody gonna tell me when I could tell my story. So that's why I started telling you this story, because perfect timing to finally let this go. So as I start my new year on the 24th, all things will be new. My vision is going to be much more clear. I won't have to think about or allow in the subconscious mind the idea that people just only tolerate me subconsciously, thinking that people only tolerate me or people only care to an extent, or that I'm always going to be left with everything on my own, or that people just hate my guts but smile in my face. That eventually that's not going to be part of my life anymore because I cut it away. I let it die. It no longer has any type of power over me. Will I relapse? Maybe here and there, but I've exposed it for what it is. And I'm no longer allowing it to be part of me, to be part of my future, to allow me to think that that's how everybody is subconsciously. See, that's the thing too, y'all. Subconsciously, we allow our traumas to translate to everybody else. So me not trusting people, from what I had to endure, translated to how most people, majority people, only get close to me enough. So I can really say that I am an open book now, because I've exposed the one thing that humiliated me, the one thing that tore my spirit down, and how I'm not going to be one to say, oh, rah, 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 humanity, yes, yes, yes. But deep down inside, I still don't trust humanity. So that's my story, y'all. Being fired from a place that had nothing but wolves. who tore me up for many days, many years, built me back up, tore me down again, and eventually tossed me to the curb. But I'm still here. If I were to meet them, you may ask me if I were to see them again in this life. I don't know how I react. I do not know how I would react, but I know the first thing on my mind is you tried to make me become homeless. You tried to make me not have food in my mouth. I would never do that to you. And that, I don't know if I could ever come back from that feeling to even perch my lips to speak. I don't wish them well and I don't wish them ill. I'm just grateful that in spite of everything that I had to go through in that 1 year, I'm still here. I'm still in business. And I have no desire to try to prove anything to any one of them. I'm just grateful to stay right here. And I only want more. I only want more. I only want what was being prevented from me having because I couldn't let go. So whatever life has to give me from this day forward, perfect song. Imagine that. I finally let go and that song comes on. Stand by me. Now I can accept that there will be genuine people who actually want to stand by me and actually want to see the best and actually want to be by my side. And not because of what I can offer, which is not much anyway, but to see like, oh my goodness, Joy, you cool. You're a cool person. And genuinely want to get to know me. Eventually that'll happen. And I can allow it to happen because I've let go of the very things that were holding me back. So there will be times when life is going to spiral out. But in the midst of that spiraling, don't be afraid to let it go so that fresh and new things can grow. So silence isn't always strength. It never will be. It only makes you hard. I don't want to be hard. I don't think I ever wanted to be hard, but I've allowed people to put me in those positions because of how they treated me. And me just being afraid to be soft because I probably would be hurt. But either way, I was hurt anyway. So what difference did it make? It makes a whole lot more difference now because my heart is still genuine. My heart is still for people. My heart is still for complete WHOLness in humanity. I still believe. that we're all healing and that we all could be so good and that we all can be so good, very helpful. We can all build each other up. So please, when you meet people, try not to judge them too harshly because you never know what they may be going through, what they had to endure. This whole entire week, I was on edge just thinking about how I was going to expose myself for being fired. But it is what it is. It happened. I had to live through it. I'm still here, and there's a lot more living that I can do now. Journey isn't over. The journey doesn't have to be done alone because I know people, some of you who may watch this in replay, I know you may have gone through the same things or will go through the same things, but you can always reach out to me because I understand. So, anyway, I guess I could go on and on and on and on and just start talking about nothing. But last thing I'm going to say is I'm just grateful that I know that I did more good than bad. And no, not one of them could take that away because they were all recipients of my goodness. And yes, I'm pretty sure they could complain about me with certain things. I'm sure they can because we all have different perspectives. But at the end of the day, they know that I was genuinely trying to be a better person. But that frustration that they had, that anger, the animosity that just built up and having no one to turn to, not even your own boss or your own manager, nothing. How do you think somebody's going to live? How do you think somebody's going to come to work every day? Think about it. When it's just you against five other people, I had one or two people that actually were on my side, but they did nothing to help me. Anyway, I thank you guys for listening. I hope now you understand sometimes where it may seem like she's a cool person, but there's something about her that just why she just seems so cold. You understand now. It's not coldness, it's just deep hurt from enduring for so long. And it's just a wall that I had to build up to survive. I'm not living in survival anymore. I'm going to thrive. So anyway, I appreciate you all for being here. Uh, thanks for listening to my story time. I told you most of the important things that I could remember. I'm pretty sure there's tons of other things that I had to deal with that is just buried. But enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning, and night, whatever time zone you tune in from. And I will see you all a little later. Thank you so much. Have a good one.